Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Courageous Curiosity podcast. Always an exciting day when we get to meet with some of our incredible staff that work with our children and our families. And today we're going to be talking about our English language learners, and we're going to be talking about some of the supports we have for our students who, they may have moved here, their family may have taken a job here, and, English is not their first language. And so we have a large population of children that we serve here in our community that are in this situation. And it's actually a really, really beautiful thing. It's one of the things that I think makes Novi special. And we have some really special people that really work hard to design ways that we can work with their families, and we're going to meet some of them today. And so this is a really exciting, opportunity to do this. So here today we have one of our directors who oversees this program in our population of children that are being supported in this way. And we also have two people who are liaisons who work directly with our families and our students as well. And so this is kind of a cool thing. Really excited to learn more. So we're going to start by asking each of you just to introduce yourself. And you can talk about how long you've been in the district, maybe how many families or the types of families you support, maybe the languages you speak, anything you want to tell us, really. And if there's anything you'd like to share about yourself. And so we'll start to my left here with Spencer Riley. I'll love for you to introduce yourself for the audience.
Thank you. I'm Spencer Riley. I'm the Director of English Language Development and State and Federal Programs here in Novi. This is my third year with the district, and a big part of my role is supporting our students who speak English as an additional or new language. It's consistently about 1,500 of our students here in Novi, and we know that even outside of our program, more than 50% of our Novi students have a language other than English spoken at home. So it's a very big group of students.
It's a huge group of students, and it's interesting even to hear you say, it might not necessarily be their second language, but at home they're speaking multiple languages, and that's something that's really, really interesting. So, all right, I'd love to hear from you, Virginia.
Yeah, thank you. I am the community liaison for all the Spanish-speaking communities, also Middle East and Africa. I've been part of the district as a new NAID since 5 years ago at Village Oaks.
Wow.
And I'm a Novi parent.
Okay.
So I'm very happy to be working now as a community liaison.
Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you for being here today to share all of the great things you're doing. Love to hear from you, Radhika.
So I'm an Indian community liaison, and I've been working from August last year, and I moved into US in 2024, so my children are going to Novi School,
Okay.
and one is in middle school and another one is in Meadows.
That's wonderful. It's great to have you, and thank you for being willing to be here today.
Thank you.
We have, for those of the people that might be listening or watching this, they may or may not know what exactly our liaisons do. And so I was wondering, Spencer, if you could give just a little background on how our liaisons connect with our families.
Sure. So we actually are very lucky here in Novi. We have a team of 7 community liaisons with very different linguistic and cultural backgrounds to support some of the diversity that we have here in Novi. And I think the metaphor we use most frequently as a team is bridge. They serve as a bridge between the families and the school. They help to orient new families, learn the school system, expectations for schools and experiences with schools, and the way you communicate, parent to teacher or parent to principal. It's very different in every single country. And so having someone that can explain to you, right, this is how you enroll, this is how you email the teacher, this is where you go for this question, these are the types of employees we have in an American school, is so helpful for them. And, on the flip side, they're also teaching our staff. They help our teachers and everybody who works with kids in Novi to better understand the cultures that our students are coming from, and the things that might be confusing or scary for them, or the reasons that they act a certain way, or the questions that they usually have. And so it's really beneficial, not only to the families, but to the staff.
you just briefly reminded me that so much of what we talk about is language, but so much of language isn't even necessarily verbal, right? So when you think about culture and how students might respond or not respond to certain approaches that we might be used to, I think that's a really important thing that our liaisons help. And I love how you use the word bridge. You talked about they're a bridge to the families, but how does this bridge really lead to better outcomes, you think, for families and students?
You know, when a lot of our international families are kind of hesitant, they're not really sure how to interact with the school or what the best approach might be. And again, in some cultures, that interaction looks different. So there are places where it's more respectful and appropriate to not reach out to the school directly with a question. You're supposed to trust the teachers to do their jobs, right? And they wouldn't want to come off as being inappropriate. And so when they're not sure and they just keep their questions to themselves, we can't help them. And it's often something that we can help them with. So when they work with our liaisons and they get the information that they're wondering about and they ask all the questions that they're feeling unsure about, even if they think it might be silly or not worth bothering the principal about or whatever the case may be, they feel more confident. They understand the expectations for engagement here. We see increases in, communication, participation, and ultimately student outcomes.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing. And so for both of you, I'd be interested, and I think you probably may have each of you may have a different answer, but what are the types of questions that are most typically asked? So what do families most often ask you as they're trying to advocate or just learn about, how they help their children here at school?
Well, mainly as we are this bridge to the families, and we understand because we were once like they are now, right? So we're empathetic in that way to guide them through the enrollment process. And sometimes we take them on tour at school, at different buildings, and mainly questions about, how the system works here, what are the expectations, responsibilities, even weather questions, where they're supposed to wear, because weather here is so different from our different countries. So mainly we're that connection and explain them as we were once also here for the first time.
Yeah.
So I get questions about VIDA screening. Why is this happening? Why is my child going to give a VIDA test? And I mostly meet them during VIDA screening. Their children go inside for the screening, and I take the family. I have a chat with them. I talk to them about the schooling and things like that. So they are curious to know why there is a screening happening. Is it because we are Indians, or is it does this happen to each and every community? So these kind of questions they ask me often.
Yeah, it's a great point, because it might be that they think they're the only ones being asked those questions. Sure. And I think one of the things that, people that might be listening to this may not know, we have an assessment for all of our English language learners called the WIDA assessment. And that assessment is essentially to help us identify where they sit in terms of their understanding of the English language. And actually, it's a goal of our entire program to move our children to the highest levels of proficiencies and actually move them out of that program. And so the WIDA assessment helps that. And so obviously, as we have newcomers, they're asking those questions. And I think that's really, really important. So Spencer, talk a little bit about how the liaison program has maybe grown or changed over time in response to the growth we've had.
Sure. So in Novi, our international population really started with the Japanese community. In the early 2000s, we started seeing a lot of corporations in our area that were, bringing employees from Japan to the, Southeast Michigan area in general. And with the opening of the Japanese School of Detroit, we started to see this concentration of families right in our area, especially once they moved to Novi. And so we started with one liaison. A lot of people in the district know her, Tomoko, and her job was to help the Japanese community. And really that's how our ESL program started as well. It was really like pitched as we need a program for our Japanese students. Like that was the population that was here. And over time, we've become extremely diverse. We're now one of the most diverse communities in Michigan. We have more than 75 different languages spoken, more than 60 different countries represented. And our Japanese students are still a large population. But now we have a lot of other families who need that like linguistic and cultural support. And so we've been really fortunate that we've been able to actually add to the program. So we expanded first to Spanish because we saw a big need there. And now we have liaisons representing Mexico, India. We have 2 for Japan now because that population is still quite large, as well as China, Korea, and Brazil.
Wow, it's really fascinating and so exciting to see that growth. Now, for both of you liaisons, I think one of the things that a lot of people might be wondering is how does the staff really benefit and utilize your support? And so I think if I were in your shoes, I might want to say the one thing you wish all our staff understood about what it was like to work with international families, because for some, that might not be something that they're used to, right? They may not have had that experience that you have had working through your careers and through your unique situations. So what is the one thing that you wish all of the staff knew about working with international families?
I think our main goal is to acknowledge that, we are a very multicultural community. So inclusion, respect, and our kids also want to be seen. And us as community liaisons have that asset of living abroad, to have experienced that process of adaptation. So it's just giving grace to the kids. Usually the first months, the first years are hard. So a lot of patience and a lot of back and forth questions about their own culture, their own situations, and they just want to be seen. And I think in our difference is where lies our strength. Hence, that's why that's the heart of our community here in Novi. We're very respected and privileged.
I love that.
To be here.
Sure.
Well, for us, India as a country is a diverse country. So you have a lot of states, a lot of culture, a lot of languages. So each child is going to be different. And not just that, I feel when a child is leaving their home country and coming to to US, they are not just leaving their country, they are also leaving their extended families, like, their grandparents, their uncle, their aunt, their friends, their community. So it is going to take some time for them to accept the fact that this is going to be their home. Okay, and I think we got to give them that time.
Yeah.
They might not express it outside. They might not say, what, I'm missing my family. They are not going to say that. But that missing part will be there.
Sure.
And that is a way there will be some kind of change in their behavior, is what I feel. And in India, you have a lot of, the schooling system is quite different. So you have the central board, you have the state board. So you never know from which board the child is coming from. So that is why you see difference in, each child.
Yeah, and you highlighted the fact that just in India alone, there are many, many different dialects and languages, and so it can't be assumed that every child's experience, even from the same country, is anywhere close to the same, which is a really important thing. But you talked about feeling seen and heard, and I think that that's an important aspect of your roles, is to help our families feel as though they have really what the title suggests, a liaison to them. And so what kind of feedback do families share with you about feeling seen and heard? Because I can imagine if I were to go to a new country and I didn't know the language, it would be such a breath of fresh air if I had somebody that was able to extend that olive branch and say, I'm really interested to try and help you navigate this process. So I think you're right. Feeling seen and heard is so important. So how do families share with you about their experience in that space?
Well, the first thing, they feel included. They feel as if they are in this community and people are including them. And the general feedback that I get from them is when I explain them my role. They ask me, who are you? What are you doing? So when I explained them, they felt happy that the community is spending their resource on us. We are for them. And they were like, wow, this is so nice. This is especially for India. I said, yes, we work for you. I mean, I work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that part of this kind of friendly phase of the school district is important because we understand that the school system back home is different, even throughout, in my case, Latin America, and giving them the chance to hear them about the adapt process. Sometimes their kids have anxiety, they cannot make friends easily, or they struggling with the language or with the classes, or so many different challenges every day. So it's always good to hear them, their questions and whatever the school system has to provide them.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people that might be watching may be wondering, how does a new family get connected with a liaison, and how do they make that, how do we actually seek them out as well? So Spencer, I don't know if you can speak to, for a family who's new, a newcomer family, how do they get connected? And then how do we also kind of reach out to them and proactively try and connect them?
Yeah, I think that's the good news. We are generally very proactive. When a family enrolls, they indicate where they're from and what languages are spoken in the home, and that typically initiates our process. So as soon as they disclose anything outside of the U.S. or anything other than English, they're generally hearing from us. We send that information on to our liaisons. They all have a caseload. So even if their exact culture and language is not represented on our 7-person liaison team, they have a person. So Vicky mentioned earlier that she also supports families from the Middle East and Africa. She doesn't necessarily speak those languages, but we know that when a family arrives from a Middle Eastern country, they are going to connect with Vicky. And if she needs to work with an interpreter for Arabic or a dialect that they speak, we will do that. But they still have someone that they can communicate with to ask questions and get settled. And so a lot of it is proactive. But the liaison information is also available on the website. And our schools have also been really great. They really appreciate the liaisons. And so the flyers with the liaison information are everywhere. I was just in a meeting room yesterday, and I happened to notice that the liaisons' faces with all of their contact information was on the wall. And we're constantly referring families to them.
That's awesome. I think one of the biggest things here is that a school district really benefits when families are engaged and active and they're participating in the school process. And one of the things I think that our liaisons are doing is that you're removing a lot of the barriers to participation. So how do we continue to invite our newcomer families and remove those barriers that are traditionally there for participation? And any of you can answer that question.
Well, I think that what we're doing right now is just being present. We usually go to every parent meeting, international parent meetings. We're around every building. We always invite them to volunteer, to be in touch with their kids' academic and school life, to ask more questions, to be more active and engaged.
So when I meet a family, I encourage them to get in touch with their homeroom teacher if they have any concerns, instead of just talking to other parents, because they are going to come up with a lot of inputs and they'll be confused. And so it's always good to get in touch with the homeroom teacher or with the counselors or with us if they are not able to. Normally, teachers do respond within 24 hours. This is my personal experience. So this is something I encourage them to do.
That's great.
And I think on the staff side, we just are always encouraging people to think about accessibility. It's hard. It's a big thing to think about all the time. But frequently I see a communication go out or someone's getting ready to send something and I see it and I'm like, oh gosh, this is a lot of English. This is a great letter, but it's 11 paragraphs and it's really heavy with academic jargon. And it might be difficult even for a tool like Google Translate to change it accurately for families to be able to understand. Also keeping in mind that our families are new to the school system and they're just getting bombarded with emails, right? Like so much information especially if they have multiple kids at different schools. So how can we make this simpler? How can we make it, written or spoken in a way that is easy to comprehend and easy to translate and easy to access for families? And then just knowing the cultures that we're working with, right? And even with parent-teacher conferences, it's great to have that conversation, but always provide it in writing as well, right? Here are the main points from today, so families have that time where they can think about it, they can reflect, they can translate things if they need to, and they can jump back in if they have an additional question.
There's also the welcome night. We have it twice a year. We have college night, and it's in each language. We give them to the family, so it's also an important part.
Yeah, Vicky's talking about we, as an ELD department, English Language Development team, we have regular family engagement events throughout the year, and that's a lot of the work that the liaisons do. They actually do presentations in their home languages, so families can get that information in an accessible way. And she mentioned earlier the international parent groups. We have those established right now at the high school and middle school with plans to expand, and those are regular monthly meetings with school-specific information, right? What's homecoming? What do I need to do for the PSAT? All of these things that we just kind of take for granted that we know is going on with the school system that the families really need assistance with.
Yeah. I mean, as an American parent of 4 children, I feel lost by the number of emails I get from my kids' schools. I can't imagine what our international families might be feeling with that. But the great news is that we are so proud that we have this program and that all of you are doing such great work. You're such a joy to work with. And all 3 of you are just doing amazing things for this community and for our families. If you ever have a chance as a Novi resident or family to come to one of our multicultural nights or one of our events, you'll see just an incredibly rich diversity, and we're very, very proud of that. And we're also proud that we're working hard to support all of our students and our families together. And so if you'd like to get involved, reach out to us, let us know. You can get in touch with the liaisons. Every building has their contact information, and you can get that information on the website as well. Again, thank you for all the work you do with our students and supporting them. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and let's go Wildcats.